Well, hello, hello, where am I at? My silky friends. I can't remember what channel I was on for just a second. You're not spooky, you're silky. Um, okay. How are you doing? I have got Carol. I see Carol backstage. Um, so I am ready to get into this. Let me say a quick hi to the first ones who are in here. Samantha Springman, hello, hello. Daniel Berry, whoop whoop, happy Sunday. Butterfly, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Pam Frenchman, hello, hello. Yes, and Samantha's like, I forgot to say hello to Carol. Yes, Miss Carol, I'm going to bring her right on because I know we've got a lot to talk about. Um, Man, I didn't even get to go back and read all of the comments that were on last night's live about I kind of did the prep for this for project Bluebird and MK Ultra and all that kind of stuff for Carol. But for those who may not, and I'm gonna link this when we finish, I'm gonna put the links down to her original videos on this channel where she gives the long version of the story, and it's really fascinating. So I don't want her to have to do that again, but maybe a quick, brief about what happened. You're right. Daniel Price, hello, hello. Project Tongue Twister. Yeah, Daniel has lots of good information, y'all. So if you are watching this on the replay, go back and watch last night's live too, because well, there were so many good comments from everybody. But all right, without ado, let me bring Miss Carol up. Hello, Carol.
Hey,
Can you hear
everybody.
me?
Good evening. Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you good, but let me ask, y'all put in the comments because I notice sometimes I am so much louder than everybody else. Um, and I'll give them just a minute, but let me know if you can hear Carol. Uh,
Testing one,
Carol,
two, three.
yeah, I don't see anything yet, but I want you to be primary, and maybe I just need to back up. Let me back up from the microphone. Y'all, I've got a fan on, so my hair is going to be doing some wild stuff all night. Okay, we're good. Butterfly says we're doing okay. All right, Carol, for those who watched last night's live, I talked about you a whole lot. Um, but tell us, like, I know you gave your long story. Give us like a brief history of how you got here.
You mean from like my childhood or?
Well, yeah, not necessarily in depth because I want people to hear the long story, but just kind of a brief history so they know what we're looking at. And yeah, your book. Show them your book.
Yeah, this is my book, Escape. Oops, this is my book, Escape from Palm Beach. It was released on November 1st, 2021. And my editor, Mary, and I are going back to the old drawing board, and we're including the prequel, which is how my father got forced into the CIA by the Nazi doctors as a illegal immigrant in 1939.
Right. And one thing they should know about you is that you come from a certain bloodline.
Yeah, I've known since I was a younger child that we are direct descendants of the Vikings, Eric the Red and Leif Erikson. And this was actually incorporated into my studies as a younger child. And there was always a lot of big emphasis on coming from the Norse lineage. And, it was incorporated into my studies. So I guess that was a key factor in me being targeted, for the experimentation and some kind of white supremacist craziness.
Yeah.
That's
So
all I can. That's all I can, figure.
yeah, I didn't know when we were talking about your bloodline before. I didn't know and MK Ultra and all that kind of stuff. Um that there was an element of white supremacy to that. I had no idea.
Yeah, yeah. When I went to Finland back in the early 2000s, I mean, there's like KKK symbology everywhere. It's pretty disgusting because, I mean, it is to me because I don't have that ideology. We have the League of Nations in our family. We've got Haiti. We've got Jamaica. I mean, you know, we've got the whole thing going. So, I mean, I don't subscribe to that ideology at all.
Yeah, right. Daniel says CIA had ties to Skull and Bones since its inception. That, Daniel, is going to come up again. Um, so I'm going to. I don't know exactly. I know I've got lots of pictures and lots of videos. I don't know where you want me to start, Carol.
Well, I guess a good place to start would be how I came to suspect that I had implants. And very simply, I was a courier for FedEx in the early 2000s, and I had to deliver a lot of time-sensitive secrets, like to the courthouse and the blood bank and things of that nature. So, you know, of course, you have to go through metal detectors, you know, to get to the courthouse, to get to the judge's chambers. And of course, I would put my keys and my jewelry, the whole drill, you know, on the side like everybody does. And then I would go through, you know, the little chamber, and then they do the handheld, you know, detector, and it would always go off. And then they would say, I go, what's going on, guys? And they would say, oh, well, it's just, ha ha, your magnetic personality. So based on what I had been reading, because I was, you know, starting to get into my healing them, I suspected that I had them, but uh, I couldn't for the life of me figure out where they could be. And of course, I was busy raising a family then, so I just kind of put it on the back burner.
Okay. And
So
then
that's, yeah, that's,
recently, so then what happened? Like, just was it just time to start researching and, confirm your suspicions or,
no,
you know,
actually, it came up again this past January. It was the first week of January, right after New Year's, and I couldn't sleep that night. I had a very bad migraine headache, and I started rubbing my head like you do when you have a headache, like the neuralgia that goes down the neck. And I was feeling my temple, and I'm like, there's a hole there. And then I felt the other side, and there was a matching hole. And then I just started, you know, rubbing my head, and that's how I discovered all the boreholes for where the multi-lead uh, needle electrodes had been inserted into my brain. Best of my recollection, that was 1967 when I was 5 years old.
wow. Wow. So basically, you've lived with this your whole life. You just didn't know it.
Yeah, 57 years. Yeah. And of course, like I said before, you know, we have programs to sublimate things to push the memories back down. You know, there's, what do they call it? There's some kind of amnesia, you know, where we're affected. We survivors were affected with this amnesia where we just sublimate and push back down because, you know, it's a firewall for the mind to, you know, to protect from a, you know, from a psychiatric breakdown, basically.
Yeah. Well, okay. Um, I talked a little bit last night about how I think I called it, what did I call it? A kill switch. Everybody, survivors are programmed with, certain words and things like that, correct? You had told me about, a time that you almost weren't here because of a
Yeah.
trigger.
Yeah, I actually spoke to that daughter today. That's my middle daughter, and she had said something one day. This was, I think it was in the late '80s, and I went into the kitchen and got a butcher knife and tried to slit my wrist. And of course, she was a teenager at that time, and she was horrified. And she pulled the knife out of my hand and calmed me down and, you know, talked me to my senses. But that's actually, as I've learned in recent months, actually, that's called Omega program. Omega programming, you know, like the end, Omega.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
So
what did somebody accidentally say the trigger words?
yeah, my middle daughter, she was probably about 16 years old then, and I can't even recall what it was, but it elicited that, that, as you say, kill switch response, and I went to go get the butcher knife to slit my wrist, and of course she saved my life. So
Wow.
I saving my life because she didn't know what was going on. She's just an
Sure.
innocent kid.
Right, right, sure. I mean, and I guess what's scary about that is you don't know. Do you have any other, like through the years, are there any other trigger words? I mean, not that anybody needs to say them, but uh, that make you do certain things.
Well, I know that I know keywords from back in the day. I know that manga, the Japanese anime
Mm-hmm.
cartoon, that's tied to my beta program, which is the sexualized human trafficking part of it.
Oh no. Oh my gosh, y'all. When I tell you, I know, Carol, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but you are gone from here. Look, we had this problem last time. If you remember, um, the first interview that I did with Carol back, I think in June of 2023, we had a complete crash of her and my system. That never happens. Like, look, StreamYard, it has its issues, okay? It has its issues, but it will, like, kind of freeze. Um, but it doesn't crash. And we had a hard time keeping Carol on. Okay, let me put you back on here. Like, I don't know if it's your internet, Carol, or if it's just, what happens whenever we talk too much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Carol? I don't know. I've got you on. I've got you on here. If you can hear me, okay.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Like, this never happens until you get on here.
Yeah.
It's
I
crazy.
know they don't like I know they don't like me talking about it, but well, it's too bad. I'm 20 years into it now.
Well, that's okay. We were talking about other things. You said from your beta programming, you had, certain things. So tell us again, like, what triggers you, like, what things do you do when you get triggered?
Well, thankfully, I've had a lot of good helpers along the way. Anybody from Baptist ministers to my nurses in the United Nations, to very good therapists. I just finished a modality last year. It's through a BOCA grant, Victims of Violent Crimes, and so we've done the EMDR, the tapping. I've gone through. Uh, Age regression hypnosis. So I've got a lot of healing under my belt. But as I told you before, I don't feel like I'm ever going to be completely integrated, because it's like the metaphor. You take a beautifully formed egg and you smash it into a million pieces, and so how do you put that back together?
Right. Right. I mean, you've done phenomenally well, for someone. I mean, did you know people? I know through the years you've met other survivors. Um, are they
Yes.
doing as well as you, or can you kind of tell us what they go through?
Yeah, I have a few friends that are not doing well. I have one friend who's like in a catatonic state. She's in the care of South County Mental Health here in Palm Beach. She's a very good friend of mine that we used to go in the ministry together years ago. She helped me deliver my son. Um, Yeah, a lot of them are not, a lot of them don't have good outcomes, and that's unfortunate. And it ranges anything from not having a good support system, to not having the finances, to get the proper treatment. I mean, it's just a myriad of things that contributes to their downfall, unfortunately. And I've tried to help a lot of them, and they get paranoid. They think everybody's out to get them. So it gets very frustrating and complicated.
Yeah. Samantha wants to know how someone would find help if they thought they might have been a survivor of MK Ultra.
Well, I started out with a mainstream uh, psychologist in Palm Beach about over 20 years. Uh, she turned out to be like a Trojan horse. She colluded with my husband to try to get me thrown into a mental institution. So say that they're all bad, but my personal experience was not a good one. So I would go. We have something here in Center for Family Services, and it's funded by the state, and you can pay on a sliding scale. And if you don't have income at all, you can get a government grant. And like I
Y'all, this is crazy. Um, yeah, this is crazy. Like I was saying before, and I didn't want to interrupt, but last time we did this last year, I had to shut down the whole stream and I had to go to a whole different program. And then, if y'all will remember, it seems like she's trying to come up. There we go. Uh, this happened just a week or so ago when Carol was talking to me. All right, let's keep going. Just keep talking, Carol. I don't care how many times we're gonna do this.
Yeah, so I would, like I said, we have something called Center for Family Services. It is run by the state. I mean, I'm sure that there's infiltrators everywhere, but you can't not try to get help and healed and become integrated and become whole again. You just gotta, there's good people and bad people there. So they will accommodate you on a sliding scale based on your income, or if you don't have any income at all, you can get a government grant. And if you want to write it down, it's called Victims of Violent Crimes. If you've been raped, trafficked, anything of that nature, anything that involves violence against women or people in general, can get help, can get free help through the government.
I actually saw that. I'm gonna write it down here. I actually saw that website a couple of weeks ago when I was researching something else, and yeah, it looked like a great thing. But do you have a problem when you say, because people come, they're victims of all kind of stuff, and most of it is ordinary, even if it's the moving of humans. But
Mhm.
when you say I'm a survivor of government experiments, do they look at you sideways, or do they believe you?
Some of them do. I've had the good fortune in the last couple of years to come across some very progressively minded young people, young therapists, just fresh out of college, and I think they do a lot of extemporaneous reading outside of what their college textbooks prescribe for them. So yeah, they're very progressive. They love the book. They're very supportive of me, in my activism and my writing, and I hope to be on a podcast with their therapist at some point. So that's exciting.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to let us know because I'm for sure
Yeah.
gonna want to listen, and I'll let them know. Um, you sent me an article about the lobes of the brain. I didn't know if that
Uh-huh.
was for my reading or if there was something that you wanted to talk about because I can pull
Well,
that right
yeah,
up.
yeah. It's to give you a guideline, because I know I sent you a lot of ookie ookie pictures. I should say ookie because now that I'm bald, my friends calling me Uncle Fester.
Aw.
So that's yeah, that's kind of appropriate. But Yeah, so as far as I can tell, I have bore holes or drill holes in the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, the parietal lobes, the occipital lobes. And I just spoke to a gentleman who's a survivor in Tampa today. I just came across him on the internet. And he says that my stemoceiver is located in the base of my brain in the cerebellum. And so when I sent you that last picture today, Silky, I think that that is a confirmation that that is where the stemoceiver, the main component, the FM radio, if you will, is located.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the other picture, you can see what's called the pulse generator. And the pulse generator is that little wire that you see going back across the back of my skull. And
Yeah.
that's what sends the impulses to all of the other needle electrodes that are scattered through my brain. I call them like Christmas lights.
Yeah, and I mean, we're gonna show that. I've got. Let me just tell you too, Carol. I have never in my whole life. You sent me videos, and the thing is the videos weren't that long. One was like a minute. One was like 35 seconds. I could not. You sent them by text. I could not get them onto my computer. I put them in Dropbox. I never have a problem with Dropbox at all, ever. I used to have AirDrop when everything was Apple, but now my computer that I'm using now is not, so I have to use Dropbox. But I could not. Dropbox kept telling me, we've downloaded this, it's on your computer, like 5 or 6 times. And when I would go to search it where it was supposed to be, and I searched my whole computer, it would not show up. It was the craziest thing. So and one of them I'm just playing on my computer because I emailed it to myself. The other one I had to do a screen record because I could watch it, but I could not download it. It was insane. Um, and I don't know if do you want me to start going through, hold on just a
Yeah,
second.
yeah. Sure, you can.
Okay, I think this one, wait, that's, this is, let me do this one right here.
Occipital lobe, parietal lobe,
Wait a
frontal
second.
lobe, and temporal lobe.
Wow. So, okay, so when was this? Yesterday, did you do this?
Yeah, yeah. Just around 11:30, my friend from work shaved my head, and she was mortified. The poor thing, you know. I mean, it's like, it's a nightmare, you know, that I really don't want to share with anybody. I mean, I don't like it, and I'm sure nobody else likes it either.
And tell us the reason that you shaved your head.
So that all of the symbols and the bore holes could be easily visible to the naked eye for documentation. You know, because I plan to work with a neuroscientist. You know, I'm not getting any younger. I just turned 62. I don't know how this is going to negatively impact my health in the future. I don't know if I'm going to end up with dementia, brain cancer. I mean, it's really, you know, really uncharted territory for me. So I have to work. I can't just go to my regular MD. He'll freak out. So we're seeking out the
Yeah.
services of a neuroscientist to kind of guide me, you know, through my elderly years with this thing, because, you know, these things are not coming out of my head. So, you know, I'm going to have to learn how to live with them
Wow. I
like
mean,
I have. Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy that I mean, to think that our government did this, I can't. Like, there are no words to express how angry this makes me. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to put it on here. And please, y'all, if you're either live or on the replay, when this is done, please share it somewhere. I just want to get this message out. That's the main thing. But Carol does have some good, some happy information, but we'll save that till later. I'm going to put these pictures up here, and I want you to walk us through these. This is you, of course, yesterday after the shaving, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you can enlarge it, but if you look at the crown of my head, if you can enlarge it,
Oh, wait a
there's
second.
actually
Let me
there's
try.
actually there's actually a big crater right on the crown of my head, and
Oh, I see.
that's where the skull and bones insignia is carved into my head, and
Please.
that's actually the skull and bones insignia was actually artwork. I guess that was their sick way of saying, okay, well, this is our masterpiece or whatever we've done in here. And so then there's two boreholes on the right. When you see the other ones, you'll see two boreholes that are shaded in to the right side of the skull and bones, I guess, to kind of camouflage it. And
Yeah.
then underneath the skull and bones, there's a phallus, and next to the phallus, there's another skull, and under the skull and the phallus is a pyramid. So, I mean, these people must have been doing some heavy duty. They must have been on LSD or something, because it's horrifying.
Yeah. I can see, I don't know if y'all can see my mouse. I don't think you can. But I can see at the very top, if you follow like the line of her nose all the way straight up the middle, you'll see. Can you see that indentation? And if you can't, I can put these pictures on my community page so you can look at them. But I see the one in the center, and then to my, well, I see actually it looks like you've got ones on either side, don't you? I see
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
little indentation.
There's boreholes, basically. I mean, I have a meme that shows me as a block of Swiss cheese, because I've like literally got boreholes in every lobe of my head. Okay, so yeah,
Oh, wow.
they gave me the deluxe treatment.
Oh my gosh. This is horrifying. All right, I'm going to go on to the next picture cuz you can see, and look, there's even more horrifying pictures. And we kind of looked at this, if y'all remember, if you were on last night's live and you looked at the ape skull or the monkey skull. I don't know what it was, but it was one of the articles that she had sent me. And it showed, if you remember, it showed that one looked a little bit different than this, but you can see how long these things are, that hang down. So tell us
Yeah,
exactly what we're looking at.
that's in the occipital lobe, which is in the back of the skull, and I guess that all hooks up to the stimoceiver, which is down in the cerebellum, which is in the base of the brain. It's just like a bunch of
Yeah.
circuitry and wires, like, that they can access with, from what I was described by the gentleman that I spoke to in Tampa today, they can access it with you're like an AM radio. It's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at this right here, Carol, is horrifying to think that somebody is walking around with this in their head. I mean, of course, I know we're talking about years ago and technology wasn't what it is today. Today it would be tiny, which is, in my opinion, even more scary because you could be implanted and not even know, these days. Uh, but okay, let me go
Yeah.
to the next one. Okay, now what's going on here?
Okay, this is the metal detector. These are my friends using the metal detector to see if there's elevated rates, showing of a metal content in my skull.
Okay, and then we're going to go to the results. And these are the results.
Yeah, iron, aluminum, magnets, and stainless and steel,
Wow.
which is a contraindication for having an MRI, because the magnetic resonance or whatever can latch on to
Mm-hmm.
like the ferrous metals, like the iron or stuff, and like dislodge it. So that's why I have to go to a neuroscientist, because I really don't know how I'm gonna, go forward with this.
Yeah, because I mean, MRIs are like kind of standard, procedure for diagnosing things now. I mean, they're very important. So, so you have never had an MRI then,
No, just skull X-rays, but I can't have an MRI. I have to
right?
find. I don't know what I'm going to do actually.
Yeah. I mean, I have patients that have metal in their body, and that's something they can't, you have to tell us, when I worked in the hospital, like you have to tell us if you've got any kind of metal, whether you were in a car accident and you've got, metal plates or whatever, because it will literally sizzle you. You cannot have an MRI. So, yeah, that is crazy. Um, geez. I mean, obviously you saw the picture of this on her head. Clearly, these kind of things don't show up normally, where you have iron, steel, magnets, and aluminum in your head. Um, okay, let's go on. Now, let me tell you what I did here. The picture on the left is the picture that she sent me, and literally all I did was add contrast. That is the only editing I did just to make the lines darker. Okay, so you could see them a little
Yeah.
bit. So now, I don't know if they can see, because I can see what I think is a phallic symbol.
Yeah, it's under the Skull and Bones, which is the insignia of Yale University, and it's called the Brotherhood of Death. And both Stanley Milgram, who I remember distinctly, and now through the process of elimination and deductive reasoning, I know Delgado did the implants because he's the one that invented the stemoceiver. And when I was 5 years old, he was one of the only people that was qualified to do that very complicated surgery. So it stands to reason that Dr. Stanley Milgram and Dr. Jose Delgado, who are both Yale alum, collaborated because they both came to Yale University in 1960. And in my
Hmm.
mind, that's case closed.
Yeah, when I was doing my research too, which I did some independent of what you sent me, just because that's just what I do, and I couldn't find anybody else who did anything with this. Is it stymo or stemoceiver?
It's a stemoceiver, and Delgado invented it.
Mm-hmm.
By the time it was implanted, the stemoceiver was, let's see, maybe 4 years old. So like he was like the preeminent guy who was doing this. And since he and Milgram were at Yale at the same time, they actually arrived the same year. Like I said, through the process of elimination and deductive reasoning, they collaborated. And I know Milgram definitely was with me because I saw him off and on through all my life, up until I was about 18 years old. But then I think Delgado only came for the surgery, and I believe he came to Duluth Air Force Base, which I have memories of the day when my head was wrapped in blood-soaked, gauze. And I think he only came for the surgery, which probably took about 14 or 15 hours. And I think they had us like on a conveyor belt back then. I think they were doing a lot of us. So he probably had to jet out and go do the next one. That's what I've been able to conclude.
Wow, wow. It's hard to refute this, because as we go on, and you see, I've got a few that are closer up. Like you people don't have this in their head, these patterns. Like you would have, a very terrible accident to have, these kind of markings. But on top of that, they would be random lines, not
Yeah.
things
Mm.
that you can recognize. Let's
Right.
go on now. This one, I could not. Now I've got a better. I did add some contrast, but is this like, what am I looking at here? What
No,
part?
that was. I guess I didn't send them in order. That was prior to me being shaved bald, and it was just
Right.
showing the area that we were trying to reveal in terms of where we thought the implants could be.
Okay. All right. And then yeah, so there's a closer one here. So
Mm-hmm.
this is, let me go back so we can look at your head. And let me go back again because you can see now, I mean, this is a different angle, but you can, I hope y'all can see those circles up in here and then how it goes down. Uh, but yeah, so this was the area.
That we were targeting to, because that's where I believe that the implants were, because that's where most of the most of the boreholes were. And I watched the surgery that he had done on one of the monkeys in the early days, in the early 60s, and they used dental drills and amalgam, like the amalgam that you would put in a filling to fill up the hole. So I've got dental cement in my head.
Oh my God. Let me ask you this real quick before we keep looking at pictures, but I know you were like 5, 6 years old, but do you remember, you have any memory of having a sore head or anything from that time?
Yeah, yeah. I came home with blood-soaked bandages, and I was under I guess, heavy anesthesia or heavy narcotics. And I remember saying, "Oh, my head hurts," and it was like reverberating or echoing through my head. And my parents got me out of the car, and they tried to make me walk to the house. And I put my hand to my head, which was blood-soaked bandages, and I looked at my hand, and I saw the blood, like glistening on my hand, and then I just passed out, and that's all. That's the last I remember. But
I
yeah,
have
that's always been a memory that I never lost. But when you're growing up, you're like, oh well, maybe I was sick, or you're not thinking anything nefarious. Hopefully, when you're a little kid, not normally.
yeah, yeah. Well, I have a scar that's, I have to look in the mirror because that's unexplainable. Well, I can explain it, but I didn't know for a long time. And of course, I asked my mom, did I ever have a head injury? And, she told me no.
Hmm.
Clearly, it was a very big mark. And it's strange to me how she doesn't remember it, but clearly the scar is so deep, you know. I'm like, but mine was a completely different thing than yours.
Hmm.
Well, not really worlds away, but pretty much. Um, and I think her memory was erased, honestly. Um,
Hmm.
but okay, so let's go back to the pictures. All right, now this, Mark, what is this on the back of your head?
Okay, well, there's two boreholes. I don't know if you can see it, but there's two boreholes above the red mark, and then there's a dark shading underneath the red mark. And my friend that I met in Tampa today has one, and he says that's where his is, and that would be the general vicinity of what's called the cerebellum, which is like the base of the brain.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I can
So
see a little bit at the top of the picture on the right. I can see, if you follow that red up, you can see that little circle. Can y'all see that little circle? I've got my mouse on it, but I don't think you can see my mouse. Um, and I see like a semicircle on this side, but yeah. Wow.
yeah,
Now these pictures I did not edit. I didn't put any contrast on. I probably should have. Um, but I just wanted you to see.
yeah. So the actual receiver, my friend in
Okay.
Tampa told me that his is in the cerebellum, and he goes, that's where mine is likely also, because that's where they like to put it, and that's previously undisclosed information to me.
Wow. Wow. Okay, now this one, again, the second one, the one on the right, I added contrast only just so you could see the mark. And that looks more like a triangle to me, or
Yeah,
the part I'm
yeah,
seeing.
yeah, because they're New World Order nut jobs, and they love that symbology, and I guess that's their brand. That's how they brand their victims.
Yeah. Carol, the thing that aggravates me so much is I cannot. I cannot understand. I can't fathom, you know, your family letting this happen. And I'm sure in the beginning they had no idea. And then once you get in, you can't get out. I get that. But I think I would have a complete breakdown if my child came home with blood on their head. I would I would lose. I would lose my crap. I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
But
and
it's bad enough that they were doing this, but to put marks like that on your head, like a signature, is beyond what is the word? I can't even think of a word bad enough.
barbaric crimes
Yes.
against humanity, mutilation.
Yes.
I'm heavy into the UN and the articles on human rights, and articles 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the Geneva Convention prohibits torture, mutilation, unnecessary medical treatments, and it talks a lot about bioethics. This is all crimes against humanity, and as long as I have a breath in me, I'm going to pursue it. And I hope that we wake up a lot of sleepers along the way so that they can get integrated.
Yes. Yes. I mean, because here's the thing, people say, "Oh well, yes, things happened. The government did these things. We know because of the FOIA and because, they've let go a lot of the information. We know that this is true. It's not just, a conspiracy theory." But they stopped all that. They stopped all that, Carol. What would you say to that?
I would say that most of the population has ingested nanoparticles, and now they use the cell towers and the satellites to control us remotely. That's what
Yeah,
I think.
that's where I was getting to last night. And because of time and whatever, and because I didn't have enough articles on it. But if y'all, most of y'all were that I see that are commenting in the chat, you were here last night as well. And that's exactly where I was going. Is yes, the nanotechnology, and I told you last night they can put it in your food. You would never know. You would
Yeah.
never know. And so, just the articles, Carol, that we read about how they're trying to sell this technology, so you'll be willing, like, to cure Parkinson's, cure depression. Like, this is a cure. This is
Hmm.
not a pill you have to take. So it sounds like, oh, yeah, I want to be cured.
Hmm.
But even from the stuff in the articles, you can see exactly what they're doing. They're not really secretive about it because it can also read your thoughts. I mean, it
Hmm.
really sounds like tinfoil hat stuff, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, I call BS on all of this Parkinson's and helping people walk and altruism and stuff because I was a healthy 5-year-old child and they mutilated my body beyond recognition. They're not. They're not saviors. They might do some good little things here and there, just for virtue signaling, but the underlying motive is not good.
Right. Alan, yes, because I know you came in late. Yeah, she was trafficked, but she started with Project Bluebird and um, variations of MK Ultra. And so we're talking about the implants. Let me go back to this. Okay. So, yeah, you see the triangle. Mm, man, it makes me so mad. It makes me mad that they did it at all, but seeing this kind of stuff, it adds insult to injury. You know what I'm saying? Um, okay, now what is this that we're looking at? Again, the photo on the
Okay.
right, all I did was add contrast.
Mhm. Okay, that is another CIA brand, and that is a tattoo. If you look closely, you can see the little pin pricks, and that matches the one on my head. And that's their good housekeeping seal of approval. They love that symbology. I've got that junk all over my body. I mean, that's just two that I've showed you. But I've got that symbology all over my body, and I can't get rid of most of it. And so Yeah, it's a nasty daily reminder for me.
Yeah. I mean, I can see now because on the photo on the left, it looks almost like a why can't I think of words tonight? I'm not wording. It looks like a birthmark, you know? But when you look at it on the right and you if you can really see it, I think I'm if you don't mind, Carol, I'm going to throw all these pictures on my community page later so that people can
Yeah,
really see them.
sure.
But you can
Yeah,
see, I can see on here where you're talking about pinpricks. Uh, yeah,
yeah,
it
which is
doesn't
how
look
you
like a
do which is how you do homemade tattoos. You know, that's
right.
how we hippies used to do homemade tattoos back in the day with Indian ink. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So when you say this is all over your body, is it this same symbol, like the two spots and then the one lower, or just the two? Like, what are we?
Yeah, I just have triangles and little skulls and phalluses like everywhere. It's weird. They're very very demented and deranged bunch.
Wow, wow. Um, okay, now this, I think this was maybe closer to your forehead.
That's
Is
on my that's on what would be considered, I guess, the temporal lobe, and you can clearly see that that's a drill hole or a bore hole. I mean,
oh, okay.
if you enlarge it, you can see where the drill went in. I mean, it looks just like if you drilled into a 2x4.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I can't enlarge it anymore, but
Hmm.
yeah, I can see what you're saying. If you look at the center, I wish y'all could see my mouse. If you could look in the center of that red spot, you see, yeah, more like a drill. It's got a certain shape. See, I
Yeah,
thought this was like
yeah,
your forehead over here, but this is, well, it is, but it's like a side view, right?
yeah. It's like I guess you would call it between the frontal and the temporal lobe. I guess you would say.
Okay, okay. Now, this, all right, this was horrifying to me. I'm assuming that this line that goes down the back of your head, and you can see it.
Yeah.
I've got it even closer. But if you look at the picture on the left, see where her mirror goes? It kind of goes through the center. But y'all can see that. I mean, that is bizarre. That is not
That,
on a normal
that
human skull.
Yeah, that's called a pulse generator. That's actually the delivery system that sends the impulses and the neuromodulation to all the different parts of the brain to elicit whatever the response they're trying to get out of me. And I know that they like to disable the little stemoceiver in my cerebellum because I have involuntary arm movements, like in the middle of the night, involuntary leg movements. They like to make me fall down in public. They love to humiliate me and make me trip over my own feet. So whenever they do that, that they're accessing the cerebellum, which which controls some of your body movements.
Oh my God. I mean, so
Yeah,
this
they.
is like a lifelong, even when you got out and you got away, like you are still, like for the rest of your life, they are controlling, I guess, when they want to, things like
You
this.
know,
This is
yeah, but
horrifying.
God has been loyal to me. God has done a lot of nice little perks for me lately. I'm not going to disclose what they, but I believe honestly, Silky and Chat, that God gave me, somewhat of an override, to somewhat rise above this. And I think I'm hoping I'm winning. I really need to win because I've been down for a long time.
Look, Carol, the fact that you survived all of this and including the trafficking and everything that you went through and you still have your sanity and you're still alive and fighting, to me, you've already won. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
I'm sure they're very angry that that
Yeah,
you have
well,
done so
I'm
well.
I'm I'm escaped equipment. Like my friends in the human rights movement, we were trying to put our heads together and figure out how much this type of, it costs to do the surgery and implant everything and get all the scientists together and do the imaging, back, 57 years ago, it probably cost hundreds of thousands of dollars then. And today's dollar, it might be in the millions. So I call
Yeah.
myself, the one that got away, is an escape piece of equipment, and they're mad as hell about it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Wow. I mean, I'm going to put this picture back up here. I mean, what a testimony. I mean,
Yeah,
man.
that little piece of wiring, multi-lead electrode right there, that's called a pulse generator, and that distributes all of the what do you call it? The neuromodulation to all the rest of the lobes, to all of the rest of the multi-lead electrodes.
Yeah. And I mean, I made this part bigger so you could see, but I'm not sure that you can't tell from this one. The picture on the left, looking at a distance, like you can tell, like just how odd that is. And then, of course, I did closer and closer, but dang, yeah, I've never seen anything like that in my whole life. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, it's called a pulse generator. That's what it's called.
uh, now I'm gonna put this. I hope this video plays. Yeah, this is the top of your head. This is the video.
Yeah, there's the skull and bones insignia, compliments of Delgado and Milgram.
And Milgram was your primary. Yeah, you can see it better. Yeah.
And you can see the phallus right there, right below it. And then under that, well, to the side of it, you can see another skull. And below that, you can see a little pyramid.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back just for those. We've had some that have come in that didn't maybe see the first pictures. But yeah,
And
I'm just
so
amazed.
to the
Go
right of
ahead.
the skull, there's two bore holes there. And so
Mm-hmm.
I guess they did the artwork to try to conceal it. I guess that was their lame attempt in trying to, conceal two of the implantation sites.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back and keep going. For those that didn't see, like you can, this is the picture on the left again is the one that Carol sent me, and I added contrast so you can see. You know what, Carol? It almost looks when I'm looking at uh the one that I added contrast to, I see the bore holes up more towards the top of the picture. But honestly, I mean, it almost looks like I don't know. There's so many patterns in there, but it's quite horrifying. Uh, wow.
Yeah, they're a bunch of sickos, man. They
Yeah,
mutilated my body. They mutilated my body and as long as I have a breath in my body, I'm going to be exposing this stuff. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I'm going to do it for another 20, God willing.
yeah, absolutely. Um, that's crazy. Um, and while I have a question, or I kind of want Carol to like catch us up to some good things that are happening. If you have questions for Carol, go ahead and type them in the chat right now so she can answer. But tell us, you had some good news. I shared it with the chat, or what, I don't even know which video it was, but I shared a little bit. So tell us where you're at now and kind of the opportunities that you have.
Well, Escape from Palm Beach came out in November 1st of 2021. So it's going to be 3 years old this year. It's no longer in print because Mary Kay, my editor, and I are adding it to it. And that's going to include the prequel on how my father got forced into the CIA as an illegal immigrant. And as a result of Silky's phenomenal thumbnails with all the beautiful graphics, I've had some publishers, some mainstream publishers contacting me, and they want to work with me, but I've got to get the manuscript finished before I can proceed with that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know how they found you on my channel. I really don't. But, that's what I told you when we did this the first time, Carol. It's not about numbers to me. It's about whether it's, you know, soon or 10 years from now, whatever. I want survivors or people who have, suspect they've been recovered memories, whatever. Like, I want them to hear and see an example of someone, you who have survived this and, managed to thrive in spite of and, expose it. And so that's what's important to me. And that's why I'm asking all of y'all to just share, you know, uh, with anybody that you is interested at all, or, look, I don't care. A tinfoil hat crowd, I don't care. Look, I will listen to a good conspiracy theory anytime, but this isn't a conspiracy. And, I showed you, I left the links on the last video. If you want to go, there is an open FOIA documents. You don't have to pay for them. I gave you the links to read about Project Bluebird and Artichoke and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there it is. You can't deny it. And now, Carol, we have these photos of your head, and I mean, it's clear that something is going on. And when you come down to that last one with the wires coming, like, oh my God, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's something out of Stranger Things or any random sci-fi movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And, like we said earlier, the government hasn't stopped. They want us to think they've stopped, but they haven't. And now, I have actually read articles in the past about how, nanoparticles could be. Okay, they're not saying they're doing it, but like, oh, this is so easy. It could just be ingested. And I'm like, yeah, you're saying that because you're already doing it. I'm not stupid. I know how this works.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Silky, but here in Florida, we get heavy chemtrailing. And that stuff
Mhm.
is loaded with heavy metals, aluminum, arsenic, mercury. So we're ingesting it, we're inhaling it. What's the saying? If you throw enough crap at the wall, some of it's going to stick, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. I know. I have even show, my kids sometimes they think I'm a nut job, but because really though they don't know anything else, but I will show them like early in the morning if we're outside, I'll say, "You see that streak across the sky?" And it's,
Mhm.
where when we were kids, it was you would see the jet, you'd see the stuff coming out the back, but it
Mhm.
would dissipate very quickly, and
Exactly.
you could only see that streak just a small distance behind the plane. But now you can see it all the way across the sky. And I've told them, watch this. I'm like, okay, think about it. This smoke should dissipate, right? But I want you to watch and see what happens. Look at this area throughout the day and these crazy
Right.
clouds that come across the sky. Um, they're not even like, Carol, the clouds aren't even the same as when I was a kid.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
insane. Insane. Um, and I know people are saying chemtrails, whatever, tinfoil hat. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, well, one day you'll find out. But you definitely can see that kind of stuff, and you're right. Yeah, that's the whole point. Do you think, and I've heard a lot of people, and I've read a lot of articles on this. What do you think about 5G? Do anything about, because, people were saying 5G is going to spark all of this stuff and I don't know, interrupt our brain waves. And have you heard that?
Well, I know Donald Trump. I live about 3 blocks from Donald Trump's golf course, and he doesn't allow it at his golf course, and he doesn't allow it at his house. His house is maybe 3 miles from my house, and he doesn't allow 5G on any of his properties. So, I mean, he claims that. I don't know how
Wow.
true it is, but so yeah, I think it has, I mean, we're all made of electrical impulses. That's how our body operates. So yes, I definitely think that that strong, I think that that strong, signal interrupts, has some disruptive properties to our body.
Yeah. Okay, a question. Will Carol continue to advocate for others similar to herself? I think a lot could benefit from hearing her voice. Absolutely, they could.
Yeah, that's the long-term goal. When the next book comes out, I've already earmarked 25% of the proceeds to open up a endowment for the survivors of human trafficking, which will aid in rehabilitation, housing, schooling, things of that nature.
How many people, I mean, I know not an exact number, but about how many other survivors have you come across, over the
I
years?
um, I'd say around 20, and I count at least 7 of them my good friends to this day. That we can, kind of commiserate together and
Yeah,
bolster each other. And unfortunately, my good friend Lynn Moss Sherman died 10 years ago. You know, so I really miss her because she was my mentor. She was one of my great mentors. I mean, she's one of the reasons that I'm alive today because she inspired me to kind of forge ahead.
yeah. I mean, that it's important because, most of us can go to a therapy group for whatever situation, PTSD, we've got, but not so much. You are a small group of people, I mean, after all these years that are left. So, I mean, yeah, how important is it that you have each other? Um, and there's probably more out there that don't even realize what happened to them.
I think a lot of these homeless people that just kind of spin, I mean, I've seen homeless people that will spin in the middle of the street. I mean, just go round and round, and you can chalk that up to meth or crack or whatever. But I honestly think many of them are mind control slaves that have not been, awakened and treated.
How
That's what I
would
think.
somebody how would somebody, because you started as a child and you remember, Dr. Milgram and all this kind of stuff, but if someone has been shut down, like their memories or whatever, what kind of things or what kind of signs should, people, and we're talking about from Carol's day, like the, not that we're not now, but from MK Ultra, what kind of, because they would be older adults now,
Yeah.
but what is there anything that's like a giveaway? Oh, I might have been part of this.
Yeah, I would say like erratic behaviors, very overly sexualized behaviors, just being irrational. I think if those like are prolific in somebody's behavior, I think there's a good chance that something was done to them, to some degree or another. I see it in
So
my sister. I see it in my sister, but my sister was in the era of Project Bluebird, and I'm pretty sure that they experimented on her too. But she's not ready to face it.
do you think that maybe she has implantations as well, or just a mind control thing?
No, I think she's been implanted because she gave me little hints over the years, but it didn't register with me years ago, like in the 80s. It didn't really register with me. She used to say something like, "Oh, well, we have the abuse code. You know that, right?" I go, "What are you talking about? Are you crazy? What is an abuse code?" And I just sloughed it off. But she's exhibited those behaviors like being very erratic, overly sexualized, in inappropriate, inappropriate situations. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that they worked on her also.
Did they? I mean, I've heard about so many government experiments, that people had no idea about. I mean, there's a lot of CIA projects that have been uncovered now, but outside of like Illuminati bloodline and that kind of stuff, and the bloodline that you came from, what kind of people, I guess, did they use, or do you know?
I think that they're looking for, like, they have whatever special projects. I mean, if they're looking for like super soldiers, they're going to look for maybe somebody who's athletic. If they're looking for somebody to work in a think tank, or as I call it, a brain trust, that's what we call it, brain trust. They're going to look for, the studious, nerdy one. I think they look for special talents, and then, try to get you away. If they can't get your parents involved, then they try to like lure you away, and then like groom you, for whatever they've got planned for you. I think they look for special gifts and talents that they can use, later on.
Yeah, one of the things that I think irritates me the most, and I was just talking to my kids about this, there was a movie out called The Men That Stare at Goats. Do you remember that movie? Um,
Um, just vaguely refresh my memory.
well, the thing of it is I saw an interview with someone who was in that project, and I mean this has been years ago now, and they were interviewing him on one of the morning programs. I don't Good Morning America, something like that. And he was talking about how this was actually a project and how it was successful, I guess to a degree. And um, basically, it was, I don't know, telekinesis. Anyway, they would basically explode goats, by staring at them. They had built the power of the mind so strongly. Well, when the movie so it was a promo for the movie, so I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to watch this movie. Look, they made it a parody, a comedy, so no one would possibly believe it, that it was a real project and that it was actually successful. um do you see things like that in some of the stuff, the movies, that it's meant to mislead, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of predictive programming. I mean, even The Simpsons has predictive programming stuff in it. I mean, it's like everywhere. They love to poke fun at us and, talk about us behind our backs and saying, "Yeah, you stupid sheeple, you unwashed, deplorables." Yeah, I see it. I see it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I yes, it was. You're right, Daniel. It was a George uh, Clooney movie. Yeah, it was completely ridiculous. But if you actually go back and look at the studies that of course, they've now released, it was a real thing, and it was a very serious project. So I mean, it's like, God, the government. So, I don't understand how. I don't understand, I guess, how they are able to continue with things like this when it does go against your basic human rights, you know?
Yeah, well, it's like like the human trafficking like we brought out last year in the other interview. From my book. I was trafficked, and the kingpins of the trafficking ring were a Supreme Court judge, a cop, and a lawyer. So, I mean, it was nothing short of divine intervention that got me out of that, because I was between the proverbial rock and a hard place.
Right. Right. And if you haven't seen that, again, go. I will add it to this video in the description, but yeah, there were two. I think you were on twice. Maybe Justice Served Daily was on once, but we
Yeah.
had to. We got shut down. We had to restart the whole live stream. It was crazy. Um, but yeah, she talks about that several times, about the trafficking and how she got out, and it's an incredible story. So y'all, and she goes into great detail. So, wow, I don't know. So where, I mean, I know you're going to fight. Uh, and I'm so excited that you are, talking to publishers. I think this is really important. Hopefully they present it truthfully. I mean, do you get the feeling that that's like, what have they said? Like, have they given you any indication of,
Well, I think the end game is they're trying to come in the back door. I think they would like to make a film out of it, and I just get that sense out of them. And they, like the last publisher that talked to me, he wanted to get a sense of what my broad-based knowledge was, and he asked me what I thought of our democracy, and I'm like, sir, I go, you're very deluded if you think we've been in a democracy. I'm like, we've been owned by 20 corporations since like the 1930s. And in my estimation, we're a fascist technocracy. I mean, who owns us? Bill Gates, Elon Musk, so he was kind of taken aback by my answer. So I think they're trying to test the waters and figure out how smart or stupid I am. So then they'll know who they're dealing with when they go to the negotiating table.
yeah. Um, I know you went from being experimented on to trafficked. What do you think their end game was for you? Had you not broken away, what was going to be the outcome?
Well, one of my father's mistresses is a wealthy woman now. She was a young gal when he was cheating on my mother with her, but she's an elderly woman now, and I had come across her in recent years through property management. And apparently, when I said in the last interview, when my father sold the farm in 1969, and we were supposed to be going to Berkeley, California. So I have learned since, and I'm going to bring it out in the next book, that in addition to all the stemoceiver and electrodes and junk in my head, they're going to take me to Berkeley and retrofit me with bionics. So that's
Wow.
why, and if you look up the University of Berkeley, that is one of their areas of specialty. I had to confirm it for myself, but bionics is one of SoCal at Berkeley's specialties, and they were going to put bionics in me, and my mother and father said, no, you're going too far, and that's how we ended up in Palm Beach.
Wow. Wow. You could have been the first bionic woman. Not that
Well,
anybody wants to be that.
well, that was my era, and they used to force me to watch the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman every week. They always, I mean, it was like my programming or something. I don't know why they were making me watch it, because they weren't going to take me to Berkeley, but it's all very surreal, and it's all very bizarre, but that's my life.
Wow. Um, and that was, yeah, if that was at the time that those shows were out, they were probably far, um, I guess, more advanced. I've always said the government is way more advanced than what we know about, in technology. Like, we don't see what they're doing. We see it like what,
Right.
20 years later or more? Um,
Yeah. Well, they had already mutilated my body terribly. So what's another couple of incisions and some steel rebar, right?
yeah. Wow. That is crazy. I mean, what was the hope to make super soldiers, do you think?
Yeah, actually, because it was some kind, like I said, the Nazi doctors are the one that brought this junk over here, and this was just in a continuation of what they were doing, after they fled, the Nuremberg trials.
Yeah.
This is just in a continuation, and I think it's disgusting. It's a horrible ideology to me. My family, we have a lot of melanated people in our family from all over. We've got Haiti, we've got Jamaica, we've got Trinidad. We're the League of Nations, and we don't subscribe to that racist ideology at all.
Right.
We're a
Right.
very,
Yeah.
very harmonious and loving family. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's not working here.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to any of that either. Um, Alan Coker said, let me go back here. Young teenage boys were abducted back in the 80s. taken to Camp Hero, they wanted to find out if they had ESP or other abilities. Did they do anything with you, Carol, to check for ESP or something?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm not going to call what I have ESP, but I will call it a very strong intuition. I can't tell you how many times my intuitions or hunches have been correct. I mean, I probably have like a 95%, accuracy rate. So, I
Wow.
know that I know that they do look for those psychic abilities, but I don't know that they targeted me for that reason.
Okay. Were your parents, let me just ask another couple of questions, but were your parents paid for your involvement in the program, or was it just all
Well,
voluntary?
let's put it this way. I never saw any money exchange hands, but I will tell you that they showered me with a lot of gifts. I guess it was like guilt gifting. I don't know if that's what you call it, but they used to shower me with a lot of stuff, a lot of nice stuff when I was a kid. I guess that was to kind of soften the blow, if you will. But outside of the experimentation, they gave me a lot of nice things and did a lot of nice things for me. It's not an even exchange for what was done, but I think they could have been compensated, but I never personally saw money exchange hands.
Yeah. I wonder if they did things behind the scenes like pay off the farm or I don't, I'm just wondering because it seems like you should have been very well compensated for what they put you through or, your family, whatever. Of
Right.
course, it is the government. Hiawatha says she's got a lot of questions, but okay. Well, like, yeah, put up a question. Um, Whatever you can think of. I know she says she's got a lot, but yeah. While we've got Carol here, she is a busy, busy woman. It is very hard to get a hold of her. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Um, let's see. Daniel said the Nazis had an obsession with trying to tap into the occult. Yes, I've seen that a lot. And harness supernatural powers. They eliminated the flaws. Uh, that leads me to a question, Carol. Did you see anybody else in the program with you when you were a child, or was it just solitary?
No, no, I don't have memories of kids being at Duluth Air Force Base or the University of Minnesota, but I noticed that my parents were always trying to keep me in a little nucleus of like-minded and like appearing children. They were always like it was almost like they were trying to do an arranged marriage or something. I mean, I remember even thinking when I was 5 or 6 years old that it was really weird. So,
Hmm.
those kids could have been in other projects because Duluth Air Force Base was only about 150 miles south of our farm. So the other children, it was a very remote community to this day. It's in northern Minnesota. It's Park Rapids, Minnesota, where it's the beginning of the Mississippi River at Lake Itasca. It's still a very remote area. So it's entirely possible that some of those other children were, part of some other programs, unrelated to mine.
Um, and Hiawatha is just joining us. And was this in the 60s when it happened to you? And have you talked to your parents about their involvement? I mean, that is, yes, it was in the, 50s and 60s, but have you talked to your parents about what happened?
My parents both passed away in 1995, and that was before I was starting to retrieve the information. Actually, when they both passed away, 3 months apart in 1995, I had a bad car accident because they were my main handlers. I had a disconnect. I had a breakdown in my programming. I got into a very bad car accident, almost died. And then, of course, I couldn't drive for that year. I had lost my driver's license. And then a friend, well, not a good friend, but just a friend of the family had whispered in my ear one day sitting at the bus stop, saying if I remembered the films that I was in from back in the day. And my head just exploded. And that's how all those sublimated memories rose to the top. I started
Wow.
researching, going to the library to get myself out of it, and that was kind of the birth of my activism, and kind of bringing me, to modern day.
Wow. Wow. So, okay. I was thinking that Dr. Milgram was your handler, but your parents were also your handlers.
Yeah, because Dr. Milgram popped in and out of my life. The last time I saw him was at my church when I was 18 years old and I was a young mother. And like I said before, the way I was able to recognize him was through his nose, because he has very flared nostrils, a very prominent, like distinctive nose. And I think he just wanted to see how I turned out, but I didn't see him anymore after that. But yes, my parents obviously were, my handlers, and just kind of keeping a watchful eye over me. And they didn't do a very good job, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they probably had no idea where it was going to go. How did your parents pass away?
My mother passed away from complications of pulmonary edema in September of 1995, and then my father died of a massive heart attack 3 months later, right after Christmas in December of 1995.
Wow. It seems okay. So I don't think we talked about this. Maybe we did and I just don't remember. So when your parents were both gone, there was no one to be the handler, and you just went into like a tailspin and your accident. Wow.
Yeah.
I if you said that before, I didn't catch it.
Yeah, and then of
Um,
course my husband at the time was a tertiary handler, but he wasn't a good handler because he was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and he wasn't home that much. Um, he did admit to me once when he was drunk that that's what he was. He was basically, the caretaker of me, and that he would be moving on with his life, someday in the future, which was horrifying to me. And I'm sure he doesn't remember that conversation because he was quite drunk. But they say that drunks, there's some truth, in the tales that drunks tell.
yeah. Yeah. So you're and I know we talked about your first, husband and all that kind of stuff in the the whole big ordeal that we did last year, but he was he fully aware of everything that you were involved in?
My first husband.
Mhm.
Yes, my first husband is the one that tried to get me into baby breeding, and that's why I divorced him. Because the mafia started coming around. I went on the run. I took my kids on the run. Went and hid up in North Florida. When we came back, by that time my husband had already enlisted in the army. He was in Germany, and the mafia was knocking on my door. And I just basically got in their face and said, "F you, get out of here. I know what you're trying to do, and it's not going to work." And they just laughed and said, "Yeah, we know your mother's not going to let that happen."
So was he like handpicked for you to be in a relationship with by
Yeah,
your
yeah. My sister is the one that basically hand delivered me to him, and which is another reason that she and I don't talk now. Because she's never apologized to me, and I told her that if he gives me a heartfelt apology and shows me a year's worth of check stubs from a qualified therapist, we'll talk. But I can't have her in my life because she's a saboteur. She's proved that many times, and I can't let her break my traction.
was she also part of these experiments? You said your one sister was, but is this the
Yeah,
same one or
yeah, it is. Yeah,
oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that she was. I'm pretty sure that she was part of Project Bluebird, which went on in the 50s. But like I said before, they like to piece together these different projects, previous projects, ongoing projects, and then doing beta tests for future projects, and kind of just like, give you the whammy all at once. I know that's, I mean, in retrospect, now being an older woman, I can see and know that's what they did to me.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So and she's the one that she doesn't want to acknowledge anything on herself.
No,
Do you
no, she thinks
think
she's yeah. She's very narcissistic. She thinks she's fantastic and, nothing's wrong. So,
we all
yeah.
have one of those in the family? But I mean,
Wait a minute.
do you think it was like when she delivered your first husband to you, do you think it was she was controlled, by someone, by her handlers to do that, or was that like just free will?
No, I think she was under some mind control, but I also know she was paid for it because she told me she was paid for it. So, that's
Wow.
enough to piss the Pope off. And mind control or not, you don't
Yeah,
betray family like that. I wouldn't have done something like
right.
that to her. I was very, I wasn't perfect, but I did some very nice things for her. I got her a very good job at our local newspaper back in the mid 80s, starting out making 50 grand a year. Okay, that's not money now, but
Wow.
back in the 80s, 50 grand a
Oh
year for a
yeah.
single person was like fantastic. And she never thanked me for that. You know what I mean? So, there's
Yeah.
no reciprocity here, in terms of give and take.
Right. Wow. Wow. I mean, what an incredible life you've lived though. I have to wonder, they say, and this is really kind of off topic, but they say, some people say that we choose this, when we choose to come here for our experience, that we choose certain types of life. I don't know. I have to reconcile that with my own background. Because I think for me that was true. But it seems terribly cruel. I mean, looking over your life, Carol, I guess, would you change it all if you could?
Well, nobody likes to be tortured and raped and kidnapped and, scratched up in briar patches. And, that part I don't like of it, but I'm very, very grateful for the family, the children that I have. They're all upstanding, beautiful people. So some beauty, so some beauty did come out of it. But I mean, I could do away with all of the brutal. I could do away with the brutality of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I get that completely. You know, it's hard, and it's unfair, it's cruel, and and it's our government. And I think that's what is the most horrifying, is because I know, like they're not going to stop. They didn't stop, they haven't stopped, they won't stop, you know. So these are the things that I guess, we we have to wonder what they're doing to us now. And like, look, I'm just telling y'all what I googled yesterday is mind control device, and it pulls up a lot of recent articles that are horrifying, some of which we went through last night. Um, but it makes you wonder. I don't know how does God judge if you're controlled by your environment or by implants. It's hard for me sometimes to think, how does God judge your actions if you're not in control? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I can see God's hand in my life, slowly but surely delivering me from this. I mean, the Bible says that the whole world is lying in the hand of the wicked one. So, and I'm not saying that God has any constraints on what he can or can't do in this world, because
Mm-hmm.
God is in charge of everything. But I think that he sends some of us into the front lines, to learn lessons and then teach others lessons. I mean, that's the only thing that I can gather out of it, actually.
Well, I think you are a marvel. Like I said earlier, just being sane in these situations. Maintaining your brain after everything. I mean, I can imagine, like, you knew there was stuff in your head, but how did you feel yesterday when they shaved your head? And if y'all are just coming into this, you can go back. I've got tons of pictures and videos that we went through of what is actually on her skull. Did it shock you, surprise you? How did that? I mean,
Well,
what was your reaction?
God in His grace gave me, things in piecemeal over the last 20 years. And yes, I would have indeed lost my mind if He would have just said, blah, here it all is. I mean, He gave it to me in little drips and drabs. And so it softened the blow. And yeah, I was pretty sure I had these all along. Then of course, when I had the bad headache in January, I started feeling the bore holes. And then finally, I've been losing my balance because they've been messing with the stemoceiver in my cerebellum, which makes me lose balance. They like to make me fall down in public. They like to make me jerk, have involuntary arm movements. I guess that's their entertainment. That's their sick entertainment or whatever. But yeah, it was terrifying to see all of these symbols, underneath, my hair and stuff. But it's going to make for a great book, and that's my payback.
Yeah, definitely. And anybody who sees this in the future, I mean, gosh, it's mind blowing to me to, like I said, I never doubted you, but to see their handiwork really makes me angry. I don't know what kind of words I can even I don't even have anything to express how that makes me feel. So I can imagine what you're going through. Just like before, unless we have any questions, but before you leave, tell us a little bit because you said it made me think of something, and I know we text and we've talked on the phone, a lot of times during this past year. Um, but what what kind of things do you face on a daily? Because I know what you've told me, but they don't. You know, are you completely free? Do they follow you around? Like, what kind of
Oh yeah,
things?
yeah, yeah. Like I have a part-time job in Florida. You have to work on multi streams of income to make it here. It's very expensive, and so one of my sidelines is janitorial, and I've been going there for like 8 years. And the cops will come in the back door as I'm coming in the front door, and come in with their weapons drawn, saying, "What are you doing here?" And they know damn well that I'm the janitor. And it's like, put your gun away. I mean, I have a key, I have an itinerary, I know the alarm code. Apparently, I'm the janitor. I'm supposed to be here. Um, they follow me. Just random gang stalking type people follow me into the store. They call me prostitute. They call me harlot. They call me, I mean, those are some of the nice names they call me. They call me the C word. I get a lot of harassment. I've gotten a lot of sabotage. I've gotten flat tires. Not so much recently, but in past years, I've had my purse stolen, my cell phone stolen. They've broken into my house. I mean, I guess they thought they were going to silence me, but I mean, I'm undaunted. I know that I know that I have a mission to finish here. They're not going to win.
Yeah. You are probably the bravest person I know. And like I said, the first time that we had our communication breakdown last year when you were trying to give your testimony, and everything shut down, you're like, oh, well, I guess they found me because this kind of thing happens to you all the time. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it does. Because they don't want a mass awakening, but it's too late because it's already happened. A lot of people are waking up. I mean, there's more and more survivors coming forward. There's one called Nathan Hawk now. There's one from California. I can't, I think Tawny something, you know what I mean? It's just like a tsunami of people coming forward now. And, I'd like to think that I'm a little part of in helping that awakening, to happen. But, it's going to take a lot of us. It's been a relay race of people, the generation that came before me, like Lynn Moss Sharman. So it's a relay race of helping, giving each other a leg up.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, like, I just want to give an applause really for everybody who is, strong enough to not only survive it but to fight against it. Yeah, Hiawatha, they still do, as you heard her say, they still do mess with her. And that's, it's one of those things you'd think that, Carol, most people in your situation would probably say, you know what, I've had enough. I'm not going to talk. Leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. Let me live the rest of my life in peace. But that's not your objective at all.
No, no, because there's too much water under the bridge already. I mean, I've been doing this. I got involved, with the original UN Ladies Group back in 2005. So it's going to be a solid 20 years, next year. And I love those ladies. They're now published authors now. Their book is called our refusal to let torture traffickers win, and it's by Jean Sarson and Linda McDonald, and they're fantastic. They saved my life. They've saved hundreds of ladies' lives all over the world. They wrote the foreword for my book, and I still got to get you a copy of this, Lily, and I swear I'm going to do it. I'm going to send it to your PO box.
Go ahead. I got rid of my PO box. Um, so I'll text you. Well, maybe I won't text you, but guess with the
Yeah,
communications,
just email it to me.
I will. I will. I'll
Yeah.
I'll email you my address and you just send it here. Yeah, I would love to. You have another question by Pam Frenchman. What does Carol think of Elon Musk's AI, the
Oh,
artificial
his
intelligence stuff that he's well, Elon. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you have
I
any opinions?
I he's an actor. I mean, the man, if you look at the man's, credentials and stuff, I mean, he only has like a bachelor's degree. I mean, how is he in any way qualified to run a space program, and a car company? I understand that those cyber trucks are malfunctioning and catching on fire left and right. I mean, I think he's an actor on the world stage, and it's all a bunch of BS to keep us distracted from something else that's going on.
Oh, that could be. Because, they do like to do that. Yeah, 100% as far as the tactic. Um, yeah, I mean, he's got so much money. Of course, money talks. I don't know. AI to me, and I've done a live on it. AI is scary to me. I mean, now, and I think, back when they were doing this to you and trying to make super soldiers and whatever, they didn't have the technology. Like now we're talking robots and all this kind of stuff. So I can see where, that would make a better army, certainly, sparing human lives. But at the same time, okay, so you can take the super soul, but they're not going to stop with us. So along with that, you need a world population who will basically be robots, kind of like you were,
Mhm.
with handlers, and whether they use 5G or whatever in the heck they're using. Um, I have to think that that's their whole design.
Yeah, exactly. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've said that a bunch of times. Um, okay, does anybody else have any more questions for Carol? I mean, I know. Uh, Daniel says we need to tread carefully with AI. Uh, that's the thing. And, I don't know if you were here for my live with Brain Bungle or Brain Bungler, but he's like, no, no, these AI are always going to be under our control. No, they're not. No, they're not. We disagreed on that, but uh, well, do you have? Well, you don't have a time frame though on your book, right?
No, because of this new revelation. I mean, I'm kind of concerned about my health. That they, like I said, they've been giving me a lot of involuntary body movements, arm jerks, leg jerks. They seem to like to make access the device in my cerebellum when I'm alone by myself in a 20,000 square foot warehouse and make me fall down. I guess they get a big kick out of that. So we're going to be working with a neuroscientist in the fall, and so I need some expert help on how to, proceed forward and protect my health, in my elderly years.
Yeah. And y'all, I know in this chat there are a lot of praying people. Y'all, please send extra prayers for Carol. I mean, yeah, this is, aging is bad enough. I know, I feel it seems like every day a new ache or pain. But I mean, that's bad enough. But when you have all of these other things and you can't even have regular tests, you know, uh yeah, please, y'all, people that are believers, please cover her in prayer. Um, Put her on if you write it down, however, wherever you keep your prayer list, please keep Carol in mind. Um, I'm gonna throw up here some pictures again, just for anybody who might have missed it. Um, Let me go back to this
Yeah,
one.
that's horrifying. That's the most horrifying. When I discovered that pulse generator today, because when I talked to the guy in Tampa, I'm not going to mention his name, but he says that his is in his cerebellum, and then he told me about the pulse generator, and I'll be damned if it wasn't in the exact spot he told me it was, and that just absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this one bigger. Yeah, I mean, you can clearly see it. I mean, that's like, it's very clear. That's not a vein, y'all. That is not a vein. You do not have anything like that running. Yeah, that is crazy. Uh, jeez. Jeez. Yeah. So, y'all, please, please keep her in your prayers. Anything else you want to say, Carol?
No, I just want to send, my love and blessings to, who have, supported me through my journey. It really means a lot to me. We all really as a community, and it's priceless. So God bless you, and thanks again.
Is there, if people want to contact, do you have, and I don't want to put you on the spot because I understand how you get tracked and all that kind of stuff. Is there any, she's gone. I was just going to ask, how can we contact her? Uh, Let me go ahead and, uh, answer from what she said. It would be, I don't think that she can have them, taken out. I don't. Um, she can't even have an MRI because of the metal in her head that we saw the proof of that earlier. So she is going to have to live with it. Okay. She might be coming back on. She's trying.
I'm
Okay.
here.
All right. Yeah. So they can't remove the equipment in your head?
Yeah, and during my autopsy.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Um
yeah, everything's kind of. Have you ever seen like a piece of metal that has like been embedded in a tree after a hurricane? Have you
yeah.
ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like my situation. Yeah, it's been in there a long time, and it's all settled in there. And if they could do it, it would probably be damn expensive. And yeah, I've been living with it for 57 years now. So I think I'm gonna go out with it. I'm gonna go all in.
I wonder, it would be great if they could just disable it, even if they couldn't remove it, you know? I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, I don't either, but I'm hoping that the neuroscientists that we're going to connect with this fall will be able to enlighten me on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't go to my MD because it just is fine. He would freak out. I don't want to lose my MD.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking it. I don't know if it's you or me, honestly, because I just went yesterday and upgraded my internet and upgraded
Hmm.
my connectivity and everything just so we could get a really good interview. And what I might do, I might take this and download it and uh, reprocess it, I guess, so that everything is clearer and it may pick up better. It's supposed to. I don't know. And I may do that for members only and drop it in there um,
Hmm.
and see how that goes. But anyway, yeah. Is there any way to contact you or no?
Yeah, you can put, if you want to. You can post my email. You
The
can
the
post my email that I sent you today.
okay, the one that you gave your newest one that you gave me today.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will. Well, there she goes again. Um, All right, so I'll drop that, and I will also drop the links to the interview. You can hear her whole story. I think there are two videos. It's a couple hours long. Very well worth the listen, so you can see exactly how this happened and what she experienced. Then she answered a lot more questions that I had um, today. I think maybe I just had sense to ask them. There we go. Let's see. All right. There we go. So I will drop all of that for you if you need to contact her or just, send
Fine.
her an email of encouragement, a prayer or something. I think you're frozen a little bit, Carol.
Yeah.
Um all right. If there's no more questions, I'm going to let her go. And Carol, you're welcome anytime. Anytime to update us. You learn something new, you want to show us, whatever, you just let me know. You have an open invitation anytime you want. Um I guess okay. I guess she's like I don't know. I'm way more rural than she is, but here we go. At least we got the majority of it. Thank y'all so much for being here. Tomorrow night, I think I'm going to try, and I'm not even sure what the topic is going to be. Like, I've got so much stuff on my mind, so much stuff going on in the news that is very troubling. Um, but I'm going to try to have the bungler and jamboree on, maybe tomorrow. Oh, is Carol coming back? I don't know. She's trying, y'all. She's trying. It could be just they've had enough. Oh wait, here we go. I'm gonna let you say goodbye to everybody, Carol, and
Hello.
whatever's on your mind. Yeah, we got you now.
Okay.
All right. Anything else that you want to say, and just let. Well, now look, I didn't do that. Look, I wonder if it's not you. I wonder if it's StreamYard. Because, the first time we did this, it was StreamYard. It crashed on my end. And it never has.
Hmm.
Um, I guess they just keep. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but it's odd that this never happens. That's all I'm going to say. Unless Carol is in the chat or on the screen. um, but yeah. I just want to let you say whatever you want to say, and then we're going to close out. If she,
Everybody, thanks again for your support, and do reach out and support human trafficking causes. There's lots of shelters opening up all the states, and if you can make a little donation to your local human trafficking.
yeah. Um, Also, I put up there victims. Oh, here we go. Oh my goodness. This is insane, Carol. Okay, we can hear you for the moment. Can you
There
hear
you
me?
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you were saying to make a donation to their local
Human
trafficking.
trafficking shelter. They're popping up all over the place. It's kind of trending now. So I'm happy to see it. It's been a long, hard road, but when I started 20 years ago, we had zero. I mean, this was a human trafficking wasteland for survivors, but now we have 3 shelters. So it does the heart good to see it.
I just thought of, I mean, I'm trying to close out and I just thought of something really important that I wanted to ask you. Because I was looking into another case, and I know that there in Florida, that is a big gateway for people to come in from other countries. Are you aware of any trafficking that may be going up the East Coast, like to South Carolina, to Myrtle Beach, and then on up? Have you ever heard of that? Or I'm just trying
I've
to
seen
piece.
I've seen little snippets of it in the news, but I don't know where it originates from.
Okay. I just, because of this other case, I have a very strong feeling that trafficking is going to be a component in the whole thing. And the case is in Myrtle Beach, and y'all know who I'm talking about, the chat, Micah Miller, always highly suspected that there is some kind of trafficking. And I didn't know if that was like a hub and where they go from there. I don't know. Or if
Yeah,
it's just a,
they're always mixing it up and trying to, throw the scent, off the trail.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I just wondered because I mean, when you have an area, especially like a beach town or something, have so many
Hmm.
people coming and going, like who knows who is who, right? Um,
Yeah, because the Brazilian trafficking was big years ago, but after Judge Tills, the judge that trafficked me, after he got busted, that got blown sky high. So I guess they had to regroup.
yeah, I'm thinking maybe they come in from, to I don't know, maybe even like Key West or somewhere. I don't know, all kind of places, there in Florida or to Miami. Um, All right. Well, thank you so much, Carol, for being here and sharing your story and, giving us a way to reach out. I want to, like, again, I'm going to tell you again, please share to anybody, any group, anybody. I don't care. Reddit, I don't care what. Just like share this so that more people can hear this story and hope for people who maybe they're not in the exact same situation, but maybe, it's the trafficking component or something else. There are people that survive and thrive and fight back. And Carol is a beautiful example of that. And, that's what we want. We want to give hope to everybody. All
Thanks,
right.
doll. You're the best.
All right. I will talk to you later, Carol. And I'm going to say good night to everybody. Y'all be safe. Whatever you do, just stay silky. Bye bye.
Good night, everybody. God bless you.